The month of June was an insane month for the Tetris community as a whole. Along with normal community activity, some incredibly significant milestones and world records were beaten this month. It's not just stuff you'd normally see in a CTM recap, but things like the 40-line world record in modern Tetris, the score world record in NES Tetris, and an insane accomplishment in TGM, the first new death sub 5 since 2013. So without any further ado, this is my best shot at covering the highlights. I think you'll agree it was a pretty insane month for Tetris. The month started off with a significant world record in the modern Tetris community, the 40-line sprint record. It was broken by a player named Reset on the 3rd of June, and I think we should all just watch it and appreciate the insanity of this a bit. The old world record was 15.654 seconds by Vince HD, who most people know about. Reset, on the other hand, has never gotten this record before, although he's very clearly been capable of it for a while. He beat his PB of 17 seconds on March 6 with the second ever sub 15 at the time, and since then he's been whittling away at his time, and finally broke through. It should go without saying that every little improvement to this record is a big deal. The 40-line sprint is one of those records where there isn't really a limit to how fast you can go, but to go fast, you have to be able to think incredibly quickly and have amazing hand-eye coordination. During Reset's fastest segment, he placed 7.81 pieces per second. That's absolutely insane, but what's more insane is that he only slowed to a bit over 5 pieces per second during his slowest section. Even though Vince had a slightly higher average PPS, 6.52 versus 6.49, and only slowed to 5.4 PPS during his previous run, he placed one more block than Reset did, which made all the difference, 102 versus 101 pieces placed. Also a neat little thing, Reset used a method of stacking the pieces called 6-3 stacking, which has advantages like reducing the number of keys you need to press to place a piece, among other things, and he also broke the world record on 6-3. Neat, huh? If you use day-month instead of month-day for dates, he got his insane sub-16 PB by over a second on 6-3 as well. Okay, so while I was editing this video, Reset broke his record with a time of 14.915 seconds on August 8th. So there's going to be a small continuity error here because I wanted to just briefly mention that. Just ignore it, okay, thanks. And on the same day, Cheese got something pretty crazy, too. Almost every NES Tetris player knows Cheese now is the pioneer of the new rolling technique that allows players to move the pieces side to side at incredible speeds. He's broken nearly every world record related to 29 in the past few months. Score, lines, and he's even cleared 29.3 and come 2 lines away from clearing 29.4. So it shouldn't really come as a surprise that Cheese was the one to break the 29 lines world record once again this month, and he even did it with a nasty T-spin.
Oh, the T-spin. I shouldn't have gone for that. That was so bad.
Yeah, that was so risky.
That T-spin was scary.
Yeah.
This game truly ended when he double flipped an S-piece, blocking off his well, but it was still only 11 lines from the level 30 transition from a 29 start. Here's hoping that happens sometime soon. With Cheese shattering world records with rolling left and right, you might think that tapping is dead, but Dog playing Tetris proved otherwise during June's CTM Masters event. After beating Alex Thatch in the CTM Finals 3-1, Dog is on pace for a mid 1.2 score. The commentators already know something insane can happen, and they're just waiting to see how this plays out. Dog puts the long bar to the left and puts another long bar to the left to get Tetris ready for his final Tetris and gets it into the kill screen. It's around this time that Van Dweller mentions tripling his prize money if he gets 1.3, but before he can say it...
I'll triple it if you get a 1.4. What? If you get a 1.4 right now, I'll triple it.
He's cut off by a kill screen Tetris and a single, which gets Dog the 1.3. Heh, that's just classic Van Dweller for you all. After that, Dog goes into level 31 and misses the square to the left. He's gonna need to get something to that left side. Waiting for something, puts that square over there, but this is pretty uncomfortable, and that L piece will fix it. And with that second L burn, he's almost out of it, but he has to put the square over the hole, and that bar to the right. He's setting up for a Tetris in level 31, waiting for the long bar, and gets it to break the competition record, but that Z placement is going to create a spire and some weird holes in the stack so that flat bar doesn't burn, and Dog is in a really awkward position right now, misses the L to the left, and that's going to be it. Dog sets a new competition world record with 1,370,220 points, and he even did it in a match against the previous world record holder himself. What a legend. After all that, you might not think the month could get any better, but NGC Man did something that'll be a precursor to the insanity of the rest of the month. NGC Man is a player who definitely needs a little bit of backstory. Up until this game, he was very good, but he wasn't considered a top-level player. He had a PB of 1.17 million and a 19 PB of 1.01 million, not insane, but not something to scoff at. What was insane, however, was his ability to slow tap incredibly quickly, faster than pure DAS even. He identified as DAS because even he didn't believe his slow tapping was enough to make him a tapper, and nowadays we would call a player like him hybrid, a mix between DAS and tap. A player who makes DAS placements but starts to tap when things get a bit hairy. On June 13th, he was playing some 19 games on a stream, and then this game happened. He reached 130 lines at 560,000 points, on a decent pace to beat his 19 PB at the kill screen, but he beat it all the way back at level 26 with room to keep scoring. Bit of dicey parity here, but nothing he can't handle at this stack height, and that's pretty much resolved. Gets a Tetris into level 27, and he's absolutely on fire! He's stacking super clean with almost no burns, sets up for another Tetris, and gets it! And that's almost a 1.1 million score midway through 27, 1.2 with 6 burns, now 5. He's LJ dependent in the center here, waiting for something to fill that, and gets a J and a T, and with that L, he's Tetris ready and gets the Tetris into 28. He has 3 more available and he's at 1.13 million, fills in that dependency there with a long bar, Tetris ready with that T, and gets the Tetris to go to 1.165 million. He only needs 1 more for the 1.2 and has 4 lines to burn. Almost Tetris ready here, gets Tetris ready with the L and gets a Tetris for the 1.2, and he's still going! He has 1 more Tetris available before the kill screen, and gets Tetris ready with that L, and now he's just waiting for the long bar, destroying his stack a bit, but that doesn't really matter, and gets his final Tetris. And just look at his reaction. That's the reaction of somebody who knows they did something absolutely insane. 1.2 million 19 start games are exceptionally rare, even for highly skilled tappers. And although NGC may be a highly skilled tapper, this game had 0 placements that were impossible with DAS. And it's for that reason that this game is the undisputed level 19 hybrid world record. And after that, things quieted down for a bit, mostly. But the last week of June may very well be the most insane week in Tetris yet. I'm not talking about just NES Tetris, I'm also talking about another version. A version that has a milestone that hasn't been broken for 8 years. Until now. Some of you might be unfamiliar with Tetris the Absolute the Grandmaster 2+, and I'll set the stage a bit for you guys out there. At its core, it's a much harder version of Tetris the Grandmaster, the first game in the series, which is a harder version of Sega Tetris, which was released in Japanese arcades in 1988, around a year before NES Tetris was released. However, due to some differences in mechanics, most notably the addition of lock delay, which NES does not have, Sega Tetris is much easier to play infinitely. By the time of Tetris the Grandmaster's release, there were many people in Japan who had gotten good enough to max out the game and go further beyond. TGM has some mechanics that make it a lot harder than Sega Tetris, like the addition of instant gravity, which is like playing a whole other game. On the subject of playing a whole other game, instead of using the traditional line system, TGM uses a system of levels, where every piece you place increases the level by 1, and every line you clear increases the level by 1 as well. A group of 100 levels is called a section, and at the 99 point for each section, pieces stop incrementing the level counter, and the only thing that can increment it is a line clear to get over the section barrier. There are 999 levels in a game, so that's 10 sections of 100 levels, and reaching level 999 is considered a clear. But it also has to include some mechanics to make instant gravity playable, like some basic wall kicks, which are the backbone of the Eureka rotation system, and the ability to rotate the pieces before they come out, which is more important than you might think. It's actually incredibly important, because there are no floor kicks, which means it's impossible to, say, get this long bar into the Tetris well without using the initial rotation system. And Tetris the Grandmaster 2 basically takes all of that and turns it up to 11. The main mode of TGM2, Master, is significantly harder than its equivalent in TGM1. Whereas in TGM1, you only have to meet a couple of score requirements and a very lenient time requirement by the end of the game in order to get GM, which is the highest rank. In TGM2, it's mandatory to get Tetrises every section, there are much stricter per section time requirements, and to top it off, you have to survive an invisible Tetris credit roll at the end of the game to get the GM rank. Oh yeah, and the game gets much faster than TGM1, and has a time requirement that's nearly 5 minutes lower for the same 999 levels. The mode that we're going to talk about here is a much harder version of Master Mode, but it has only one requirement: go fast. Seriously, as long as you're under 3 minutes and 25 seconds at level 500, by the way, that requirement is referred to as the Toricon, all you have to do is clear. That's it. But of course, nothing is ever that easy. The whole game is instant G, and the speed timings get to the limits of what a human can practically do with the rule system the game uses. Needless to say, there's a reason why less than 100 people have ever cleared it. Switch Palace Corner is pretty much a speed demon. Before what he did on this day, his PB history looked like this. The level that he reached in all these games is here, and the time is right next to it. The first entry on here was all the way back in 2018, and he has a video on his channel from 2017 of him breaking the level 500 Toricon. So needless to say, he's been playing for a very long time, and he even has a board of all the times he's choked clearing and getting GM. And going back to his score history, another thing to note here is that some of his times have gotten faster, sometimes by a few seconds, even though the level he's achieved has increased, which is absolutely insane. So let's take a closer look at the run. SPC reached level 500 at 2 minutes and 34 seconds, which, with his speed, is a pretty comfortable margin for getting a time under 5 minutes. He said that he calculated he needed to reach level 500 at 2 minutes and 39 seconds or lower to get a time under 5 minutes, and the math checks out, as you'll see in a moment. He reached level 600 at 3 minutes and 2 seconds, 700 at 3 minutes and 29 seconds, 800 at 3 minutes and 57 seconds, and he reached 900 at 4 minutes and 27 seconds with a fairly high stack that could get a bit messy if he makes a mistake, but he's just handling this dig like a champ. And I'll let the rest of the section play out so you can see the time. And just like that, Switch Palace Corner achieved his first Death GM with a final time of 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 200 milliseconds, and that time is absolutely insane. Here's why. Before this run, the current highest time ever achieved by a player outside of Japan was 5 minutes and 13.13 seconds by Culex, a French player with many years of experience under his belt. So in his first GM, he beat the Western record by about 19 seconds. At these speeds, that's about 3/4 of a section. Insanity. But back in Japan, where the game has been available for around 8 more years than it has in the Western world, only 4 other people have achieved a time below 5 minutes in death mode. And the last person to get it was a player named Kashiwa, who achieved it on March 7th, 2013, over 8 years ago. So not only did he absolutely demolish the Western record, he became the 5th player ever and the first new person in over 8 years to achieve a time below 5 minutes in TA death mode in Tetris the Grandmaster 2. Absolute insanity, pun intended. But something even more amazing happened the very next day. In fact, depending on how you look at it, it might have even started happening a day before. Most NES Tetris players know about Tristop. He's a player who's been active in the community for a really long time, has participated in many top-level NES Tetris tournaments, and who has a 1.3 million and almost has a 1.2 million from a 19 start. So definitely a force to be reckoned with. Most players are likely aware of the differences between the DAS and hypertapping piece movement techniques, but if you aren't, here it is in 2 sentences. The game's delayed autoshift, or DAS, is a fixed speed, and is much slower than just tapping out every single input, which is what hypertapping is. There's a key technique which makes DAS just a little bit faster though, the quick tap, which lets DAS players get pieces a tiny bit higher, just 2 rows in level 19, but at the expense of not being able to move the next piece as much. Tristop's tapping isn't much faster than DAS with quick taps, so around the beginning of June, Tristop decided to grind nothing but DAS. His end goal was a 1.3 million score, and there were some significant milestones along the way, such as the mid-24 max out, the earliest max out ever with DAS. Before Tristop decided to start grinding, the DAS world record was 1,275,602 points by Harry Hong, and it had stood for almost 2 years. One could argue that it was a 1.3 million choke, because he only needed 1 more Tetris for it, but he burned 1 line too many. 24 days into his grind, Tristop finally beat Harry Honk's DAS world record with a score of 1,279,340.
DAS world record. Let's go. I got DAS world record.
The very next day, on the same day that SPC got the insane sub 5, Tristop broke it again, narrowly missing the 1.3.
It's not enough! It's not enough! It's not enough! It's not enough!
And the very next day after that, this happened. Tristop maxed out midway through level 24 and got 1.1 million into level 26. Right now he has only 9 lines to burn for the 1.3, which isn't much when you're playing with DAS. Waiting for the long bar and gets it, and he has a double well set up. This is a good stack, but he's gonna need to burn to resolve this if he doesn't get a bar. Burns with that T-piece and puts the long bar into column 9. His right side is a bit high and now has a very scary bar dependency in the middle of his stack. Gets the bar and gets an S-piece to open the well again, but he needs another bar. Gets the bar but needs a J and gets it immediately, along with another bar for another Tetris. Absolutely insane RNG, but you need that when you're playing DAS on such a high level. Now he has 5 burns left and he's trying to get Tetris ready again, and that J will get him Tetris ready. Fortunately, he gets the bar in time, but the placement of that Z piece and that L piece means that he'll have to burn with this J. Not a problem, he still has 4 burns left. But he sets up a small spire in the center and he has to put the O in the right. Now he has only 2 burns left. He gets another Tetris, and with that Z, he has 1 burn left for the 1.3 million. Almost set up for it, just needs to fill in this final hole, and he fills it with that J. He's skimming with a T on the top of his stack to take the last burn, and he's just waiting for the long bar, and well, he got it.
I got it! 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 It's new PB2! I got it! I got it! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
An achievement once believed to be impossible by many with hyper tapping, achieved with DAS. It just goes to show how insane of a player Tristop is, and how high the skill ceiling of NES Tetris can be pushed. There was an incredible amount of luck involved as well, as you need to get the bars needed for the Tetrises at the right times, but a large amount of skill is needed to take advantage of the luck when you do get it. Either way, Tristop is the only person in the world to have done this amazing achievement, and he wasn't even tapping. And neither was Cheese. Just when you thought the month couldn't get any more insane, Cheese swooped in on the last day of the month and did something absolutely legendary. I've already introduced Cheese, and frankly I probably didn't need to, but here's the gist. There are many people who like to qualify for CTM on the last day possible, myself included. Shameless self-promotion right here, because you've arguably had the full month's worth of improvement on the last day of the month. Also, some people are bad at scheduling, so they just do it on the last day, but there aren't many people like that. But either way, Cheese started his CTM qualifier on June 30th, the last day possible, and had what appears to be a completely ordinary first game, at least at first. 593,000 transition, max out into 26, decent pace for a high 1.1 or maybe a 1.2 million. Going into level 28, Cheese has to burn some lines, which means he'll have to get the 1.2 in kill screen. With the burns with that long bar and L piece, and then the T, Cheese has 1 Tetris available before kill screen, and has to burn another line, and gets the long bar for a score of 1.158 million into kill screen. And because Cheese is a roller, he can consistently play on the kill screen. Right now he's just taking a few burns, just trying to stabilize his stack. That missed 5 tap with the long bar will set him back a little bit, but that missed rotation on the J could be deadly. Fortunately it gets a long bar there to burn it off, and with that S piece and that T piece, his well is open, gets the 5 tap to the left, and now he's pretty much chilling. Just taking singles on the kill screen, trying to get the 1.2, but he's setting up a center well Tetris here. Burns with that J piece to keep his stack manageable, and he gets the long bar for a kill screen Tetris to get the 1.2 million score, and he's far from dead. This is a very comfortable position for Cheese right now, just trying to burn out of this, goes into level 32, and he's almost transferred to a right well, misses the line to the left. If he misses something else, he might be in a bit of trouble. Seems to be setting up for a left well Tetris, and gets the Tetris, only 20,000 more points needed for a 1.3. With that T, he's completely transitioned to a right well again, nearly a perfect stack. He's just trying to set up a Tetris, and with that J piece, he's ready and waiting for the long bar. Has to take a few burns here, but this is level 29. It doesn't matter as long as you survive. And he's set up again, and gets the Tetris into level 34 to get a 1.3. And he's not even done yet. He has a perfect stack, and he gets another Tetris for 1.38. He only needs 1 more Tetris for the first recorded 1.4 million, and he's set up and waiting for the long bar, and gets it for the first ever recorded 1.4 million score. And it looks like Cheese is trying to break Joseph's world record. He's burning lines, he's less than 10,000 away, misdrops with that S piece, and he just needs to dig for a little bit and gets that J to the left, And with that double into level 36, Cheese sets a new world record, and he's still going! Just clearing singles here now, he's taking it easy and just padding his record at this point. But that misdrop with the L could be deadly if Cheese can't resolve it. He's getting stuff to the left and right, and it looks like he'll be able to resolve this. But that square and S are putting pressure on those holes in his stack, and that Z misdrop followed by a J misdrop seals the deal. He can get a few extra lines here, but he can't get much more than that because this stack is just unrecoverable, and Cheese is going to top out at 1,461,740 points, finally beating Joseph's unrecorded world record over a year after it was achieved. G freaking G. And this wasn't even Cheese's first 1.4 million. After he achieved this, he revealed that he got another one all the way back on June 21st. This one was just a few thousand points below Joseph's world record, but it was still the first ever recorded 1.4, which in and of itself is an insane accomplishment. But what's perhaps even more insane is that both of these 1.4 million scores were achieved with a 1.1 million score into the kill screen. It really goes to show how much of an advantage players who roll have, as the ability to score 300,000 points on the kill screen is something that even the best tappers can only dream of. Obviously, his 1.4 million score world record is also the world record for most points achieved on the kill screen in a real game, with 302,960 points, but his first 1.4 had a post-transition of 870,380 points. A couple of hours after this game and Cheese's reveal, the month of June ended. I do want to just briefly mention one thing that I did in June, and another I technically did in the first hour of July, but only in my time zone. The first thing I achieved was on June 29th, where I beat my Textmaster Sudden TI PB by over 10 seconds, from 4 minutes 16 seconds to 4 minutes and 6 seconds. Even though Textmaster Sudden TI is a clone of Shirase mode in TGM3, it's arguably too inaccurate to count as the mode, but if it was accurate, my time would have been over 3 seconds faster than the previous recorded world record in real Shirase mode, 4 minutes and 9 seconds by Zab. He has an unrecorded 403, so that's definitely my next target when I get the actual game up and running. And I also beat almost every single one of my PBs in one game in my own CCM qualifier a couple of hours after Cheese's legendary qual. I beat my score PB, my lines PB, my level PB, my post-transition PB, possibly my post-transition PB, and it's the highest score I've ever achieved in a CCM qualifier, and I finally beat that 1.272 I got almost a year ago now. Let's go. And on top of that, it was my first ever 1.2 million average of 2 qualifier. You can find both of those videos in my channel history. Beyond this one, I do have some remakes of some old videos, like the Beginner's Guide and World Record Regression, now that the world record has actually been broken, that I want to do, and I have some new ideas as well, such as this. This took a lot of work to put together, so I might not do it every month, but I definitely want to do it when we have an insane month like this one. I personally think the future is looking bright for my channel, but we've reached the end of the video, so like, comment, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you next time. Bye!